No one thought it could happen in North America. A parasite that uses your body as its personal feeding ground, taking over first your stomach, then your entire GI tract, forcing you to crave the foods at once, while slowly destroying your body from the inside out. Governments are finally admitting that this is real. Measures have been proposed in New York and the country of Mexico to try and stop it. But by the time you read this, it may already be too late. My name is Craig Capetta. I'm the Director of Science and Nutrition at Whole Body Research International, and I've spent the last 24 months working with my team of doctors and scientists to figure out a way to stop this parasite. Perhaps the scariest thing is that its symptoms come on slowly. You may never even realize your fatigue, weight gain, or lack of sleep is the result of this bad bug, until it finally takes over and forces you to seek medical attention. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a simple test you can do to find out if whether or not you've been infected, and if so, how to get rid of it before it causes potentially irreversible damage. I'm also going to expose the major government screw-up that allowed this to happen, and how they are now scrambling to fix it. Warning: the information I'm about to share with you is controversial, because this parasite comes from the most unlikely place, your food supply. In the next few minutes, I'm going to expose the manipulative practices of several very large corporations, companies like General Mills, Nestle, and Coca-Cola, that they prayed the public would never discover. It's a tangled web of bribery that makes your average politician look like a saint, and they are currently spending tens of millions of dollars in false advertising to try to cover up what they've done. But it's about time someone pulled back the curtain. That's why I've spent a considerable amount of time and my own money over the last few months creating this video that they do not want you to see. So if you're serious about the health of your family, turn off your cell phone, take a seat, and make sure you read every word of this presentation. What you are about to see and hear may shock you, but it may also save your life. Let's get started. The year was 1950. The death rate by heart disease in America had jumped to an astonishing 30%. Only far back as the 1900s, it was 10%. In just 50 years, deadly heart attacks had increased by a factor of 3 times. People were dropping dead at an alarming rate, and no one could figure out why. Then, on September 24, 1955, America's own president, Dwight D. Eisenhower, suffered a heart attack, sending the entire nation into a panic. The crisis was now real. On Monday, September 26, the Dow Jones plunged 6.5%. The total paper loss for the day was $14 billion, the largest ever, including that of the Great Depression. President Eisenhower would not walk again until October 25th and would not return to the White House until November 11th, nearly 6 weeks later. By this time, the fear of heart attacks was on everyone's mind. Enter government researcher Ancel Keys. Mr. Keys was a Harvard-educated scientist who had helped design rations for the U.S. Army during World War II. Mr. Keys set out to discover why Americans had the highest rate of heart attacks out of any of the first world countries. In what would later become known as the 7-country study, Mr. Keys discovered that Mediterranean nations had the lowest heart attack rates in the world. Their diet also contained the lowest amount of fat. He concluded the American high-fat diet was to blame for our heart attack problem. Correct or not, finally the public had an answer. In 1956, representatives of the American Heart Association appeared on television to inform the public that a diet, which included fats such as butter and lard, and fatty foods such as eggs and beef, would directly lead to deadly coronary heart disease. The government's own health officials began recommending people adopt a low-fat diet to protect themselves and their families. Brochures on how to eat low-fat were passed out in schools. No one wanted to suffer the same fate as the president, or worse, drop dead. Most were fine with Mr. Key's reasonings. He became a celebrated hero and was even put on the cover of Time magazine. Though he himself would many years later change his own opinion on the matter, for the time, a low-fat diet was universally accepted as the only surefire heart attack fix. Yet there was one sector that wasn't happy with this, and that was the big food conglomerates. You see, previous to Key's findings, their favorite way to flavor their foods was by adding more fat. Food scientists had discovered that fat was a flavor carrier. It could deliver taste and odor compounds from different parts of food and provide texture and mouth-feel that made food taste better. Without fat, food tasted like cardboard. But now, the public was demanding their foods be low-fat. Processed and canned foods began to go uneaten as people turned to more natural, lower-fat alternatives. If it didn't say low-fat on the label, people stopped buying it. The conglomerates scrambled to find new recipes that would allow them to call their products low-fat, yet still taste good. Food scientists were called in by the dozens, and finally, they discovered something even better. You see, unlike fat, this new flavor additive was actually addicting. It goes by many different names, but you may know it best as refined sugar. Did the food industry know it was dangerous? Even many doctors of the 1950s would argue they certainly did. As far back as 1808, studies had been done proving sugar was not only unhealthy, but actually toxic. So, what is the result of all of this? What do these unnatural things actually do once we put them in our bodies? Why did the dogs in F. Magendie's study die faster when sugar was added to their diets? Why are more people getting sick than ever before? Why are more people suffering from obesity than ever before? And why is cancer predicted to soar by 50% by the year 2020? The answer may frighten you as it did me. Doctors are now saying it could be the widest spread health hazard to hit North America since cigarettes, polio, HIV, or hepatitis. In our lifetimes, this one thing will affect more Americans than all four of these combined. In 2005, molecular biologists at Rice University estimated it was already affecting 70% of the American population. What is it? It's the consequence of the unnatural elements we've been exposed to and the deep, dark secret the food conglomerates are, right now, as we speak, spending millions of dollars to try and sweep under the rug. They have some help from the killer itself, because this disease takes over your body from the inside. Most never even know it is there until it's too late. Its name is Candida. Candida is a type of fungi, a single-celled member of the yeast family. Where did it come from? Was it carried over on a boat from Africa, or did it come from livestock? Actually, no. Candida is a natural resident of your digestive tract, along with 25 trillion other bacteria, some good and some bad. So long as the balance stays in order, which scientists now say is 80% good bacteria to 20% bad, your digestive and immune systems will continue to function normally. But here's where the problem starts. Candida is a member of the yeast family. And do you know what yeast like to eat? Yep, you guessed it. Refined sugars, artificial sweeteners, and preservatives. All of the things that have just been added to your food supply in just the last 50 years or so. Maybe you did the experiment back in science class where you put yeast in a petri dish and fed it sugar to get it to grow. That's what's happening in your stomach right now. Let's take a look at that picture again. These are actual Candida albicans growing in a petri dish. When you feed the Candida, it starts to breed, faster and faster and faster. Soon it has outnumbered the good bacteria in your stomach. Then they make their way into your upper and lower intestine and throughout your entire GI tract. Before long, they begin to expand into other parts of your body, resulting in serious medical problems that can cripple your ability to enjoy a happy life. Fatigue, weight gain, sleeplessness, bloating and gas, irritable bowel syndrome, constipation, skin problems, fungal infections. These are just the start of the havoc Candida can wreak on your body. If you're suffering from any one of these symptoms, it's very likely this parasite is to blame. When you take antibiotics, Candida growth accelerates even faster, as antibiotics kill off many of the good bacteria that would otherwise keep it in check. It's because of all this, doctors estimate that currently, at the time of this letter being produced in the fourth quarter of 2013, 80% of all Americans suffer from some degree of Candida overgrowth. Dr. David Perlmutter, a personal advisor to Dr. Oz, who you may know from the show and his current New York Times bestseller, Grain Brain, recently stated, "Those of us who deal with this health condition in a clinical setting are witnessing what now seems almost epidemic." Dr. David Perlmutter. The reason Candida is so dangerous is because it directly affects your digestive system, which is the largest internal organ in your body. It's also home to 70% of your immune system. So when your digestive tract is weakened, so is your ability to combat sickness and disease. Left untreated, it can begin to affect every area of your life. Here's a list of common Candida symptoms composed by Dr. Mark Hyman, recognized Candida authority and best-selling author of The Blood Sugar Solution. General symptoms include chronic fatigue, loss of energy, general malaise, decreased libido, sensitivity to foods, chemicals, and other allergens, eczema, psoriasis, irritable bowel syndrome, toenail fungus. Gastrointestinal symptoms include thrush, bloating and gas, intestinal cramps, rectal itching, altered bowel function such as diarrhea or constipation, yeast infections, frequent bladder infections, irritable bladder, hormonal complaints, menstrual irregularities like pain or bleeding, premenstrual syndrome, thyroid dysfunction, nervous system complaints, depression, irritability, inability to concentrate, immune system complaints, allergies, chemical sensitivities, low immune function. And if your past history includes chronic yeast infections, chronic antibiotic use for infections or acne, oral birth control pill usage, oral steroid hormone usage, your chances of having Candida overgrowth are greatly increased. One of the scariest things about Candida is the way it begins to reprogram you to crave more and more of the foods it wants. It hijacks taste buds, brain chemistry, and hormones to make you want foods that make it grow faster and mess you up even more. Breads, sugars, refined carbs, sodas, fried foods, carb-heavy foods like pizza and pasta, and of course, desserts and sweets. Do you often find yourself craving these things? If so, it's probably not because you're a naturally unhealthy eater, but because the bad bacteria have taken over. It's like they're down there in your stomach yelling, "Feed me," forcing you to want foods that worsen your condition, make you gain weight, and make it literally painful for you to go on a diet that doesn't include them. Candida has also been linked to many studies showing it has a significant link to obesity. As Doctors Carolyn Dean and William Crook write in their 2005 book, The Yeast Connection in Women's Health, most women don't have even an inkling that their symptoms could be caused by yeast overgrowth in their bodies. The number of women suffering in silence, not even knowing what is really wrong and blaming themselves for failing is, I believe, literally numbered in the millions. Millions of women who can't lose weight and have no idea why. Dr. William Crook, M.D., and Dr. Carolyn Dean, M.D., N.D. The same holds true for men. Once the excess yeast is destroyed, many find they are able to lose the unwanted weight quickly and easily. Even that stubborn belly fat most diet plans can't touch. So now let's talk about how to fix it. Here's the good news. To start feeling better, you don't have to necessarily get rid of all the Candida. You just need to balance them out. As I mentioned before, your gut is also home to a lot of good bacteria. To start feeling your best, you just need to get the 80-20 balance. 80% good bacteria, 20% bad bacteria. There are two ways to do this. The first is going on a real all-natural diet. That means completely eliminating all processed foods, refined sugars and carbs, artificial sweeteners, and also white breads. Then supplement your diet with foods that are high in a special kind of good bacteria called probiotics. Probiotics are clusters of good bacteria that, like a powerful army, go into your stomach and form colonies that far outnumber the Candida. They were first brought to attention in 1908 by Nobel Prize-winning physiologist Eli Meshnikov, noting that Bulgarians, at the time, lived longer than anywhere else on Earth. He set to find out why, and deduced that it was because of their yogurt-heavy diet. He even named the first probiotic stand he discovered, Lactobacillus bulgaricus, as a tribute to them. Unfortunately, yogurts today are no longer a good source of probiotics. They're pasteurized, which kills off most of the good bacteria. Not to mention, they usually contain, you guessed it, tons of added sugar. This is especially true with frozen yogurt. Sure, it's better for your waistline than ice cream, but don't expect to see any probiotic benefits. Foods that are high in probiotics include sauerkraut, kaffers, olives, and fermented vegetables. Eliminate the unnatural elements from your diet and start eating those foods, and your gut will eventually balance itself out. But let's be realistic. In today's world, that's nearly impossible. Who wants to never eat out at another restaurant or never go over to a friend's place for dinner? Luckily, there now is a better way. Scientists have recently figured out how to load your gut with probiotics without having to completely eliminate your favorite foods. They've been able to put these living bacteria into pill form, so you can take them with your meals. With only moderate changes to your diet, adding probiotics can start to create a world of difference in your gut. They help to offset bad foods you do eat, populate your gut with good bacteria, and instinctively balancing you into the right ratio. Once this happens, all sorts of exciting changes can happen in your body. You'll start to have more energy, feel more alert and more active. You can focus better on work. You feel smarter, more productive, and more creative. Many no longer have the need for coffee or caffeine, as your body is now able to get more energy from food and tap into it easily. Dr. Alan Walker, professor of nutrition and pediatrics at Harvard Medical School, recently stated, "Evidence from clinical research demonstrates that adding good bacteria to the diet promotes a healthy digestive and immune system. This makes your disease-fighting ability stronger, so you get sick less often." In a 2001 study, children from daycare centers in Helsinki, Finland, were given milk with and without probiotics. Those who drank the probiotic-enhanced milk were 17% less likely to get a respiratory infection and 16% less likely to call in sick because of illness. Harvard Medical School has also recently gone on record to proclaim probiotics' effectiveness at preventing vaginal yeast infections, as well as antibiotic-induced diarrhea. Dr. Michael F. Roizen, New York Times bestselling author and chief wellness officer at the Cleveland Clinic, recently said, "Taking probiotics is a habit that can really benefit the digestive system, which is intrinsically connected to our overall health." Dr. Michael F. Roizen, MD. Many people also notice it's much easier to lose weight. Your gut is processing food more efficiently, so you get more nutrition out of the food you do eat. If you've had trouble losing weight in the past, it could be because the Candida have clogged up your digestive tract, which can greatly slow down your metabolism. You'll also notice those carb and sugar cravings fade away. You actually find yourself craving good, healthy foods that make you look and feel great. All in all, your digestive tract contains 60% of the cells in your body, so it's no surprise cleaning it up can make you feel like a whole new person. Many Americans who try probiotics for the first time are taken aback by the results. Here's something else interesting. In June 2012, scientists at the Elementary Pharmabiotic Center at UCC found that brain levels of serotonin, the happy hormone that controls your mood, are regulated by the amount of bacteria in the gut. That means if your gut clogged up, serotonin production can slow down. This is why many who suffer from candida overgrowth are irritable, moody, and suffer from anxiety and depression. Says participating Dr. Gerald Clark, although we always believed that the microbiota was essential for our general health, our results also highlight how important our tiny friends are for our mental well-being. Dr. Gerald Clark, MD. Another 2007 study published in Pediatrics is one of my personal favorites. They found that after 4 weeks, breastfed babies whose mothers who consumed a daily probiotic cried 194 minutes less than the test group that didn't. In 2010, the study was done again and showed a similar result. It's no wonder many doctors are now calling probiotics the most important wellness discovery of our time. Many even say taking a daily probiotic is more important than vitamins, as it not only puts you in a better mood, but when your gut is working right, you extract all vitamins naturally from your food, like your body was designed to. Oh, and before I go, I feel it's important I tell you about one more thing. It's important we talk about the costs of not taking care of your gut, because this is not a problem that fixes itself. If you are currently suffering from fatigue, irritable bowel syndrome, skin rashes, reduced sex drive, low energy, obesity, or lack of sleep, then chances are you are one of the 80% of all Americans who has some level of candida overgrowth. Unless you are willing to make an immediate, drastic change to your diet, symptoms will only worsen for you as the bad bacteria continues to grow. Think of it this way. Imagine if all of a sudden you decided to never brush your teeth ever again. The plaque buildup that would form is not unlike what goes on in your gut when it's untreated. Sure, you'll be fine for a while, but eventually you'll begin to get cavities and mouth rot, and then you lose your teeth, and you are out of luck. It's very likely the exact same thing is going on in your gut right now. The food that causes bad bacteria to grow on your teeth is the same food that goes into your stomach right after. So it only makes sense that it would cause bacteria growth there also. But in your gut, the consequences are much more severe. While your mouth and teeth are certainly important, they are just a small part of your body. Your digestive tract is your core. It actually contains 10 times as many cells as the entire rest of your body. Untreated, it could begin to affect your health in ways I'd never wish upon anyone. Bad breath, constipation, acid reflux, indigestion, fatigue, lack of sleep, skin problems. These are just the early symptoms. The scariest part is that with 70% of your immune system in your digestive tract, if it can't function properly, you become susceptible to not just getting sick, but to some very nasty diseases like ulcerative colitis, lupus, multiple sclerosis, and arthritis. And those can't be cured by balancing your gut. That's why it's critical you get this handled now, before it's too late.